Well, good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. First item, please, Common Clerk.
Your Worship, first item is the approval of the agenda, and there are three proposed additions coming from Committee of the Whole. First one being 17.1, and that's Birch Hill Project Memorandum of Agreement. 17.2, interim funding of new economic development agency, and 17.3, wind down of Develop SJ and Discover SJ.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Thank you. Don't think I have the agenda on here unless I'm missing it, so I'll just do a manual vote on the motion. All those in favor? Thank you. Anyone contrary-minded? Not seeing any. Thanks. Next item.
Your Worship, 5.1, there's only one consent agenda item, and that's a city market lease with the Blue Pelican Bath and Body.
Move 5.1.
Okay, thank you. Moved by the Deputy, seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Thank you. And no questions or comments? Okay, thank you. Please vote now. Okay, thank you. Motion's carried. Next item.
Your Worship, it didn't register on the equipment. Can we just do that by hand
Okay.
for voting?
Oh.
No, it didn't show up on the, I'm not sure.
Okay, sure. We'll just re-vote. Sorry, for some reason it didn't show up. Folks, I'll call the question again. All those in favor? Thank you. And anyone contrary-minded?
Oh, there we go.
There we go. We got it. Same result.
Okay.
That was a test just to see if everybody would vote the same way. Thank you. Motion's carried. Next item.
Next item is members' comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just quickly, we're into the holiday season. A reminder, we want to come out of the holiday season with no positive COVIDs, just like we are going into it today at St. John. Please remember to wear your masks, socially distance. The 20-person bubble is not a different 20-person every day. It's that your one 20-person bubble. So please do your best to keep doing as good as you've been doing and enjoy the holiday season. So happy holidays. Be safe.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Worship. As always, when we're live, don't forget the fair taxation. Sustaining St. John, I guess, would be it. It affects everybody in the province of New Brunswick. Hopefully, we'll get that legislation this year. Santa Claus will come maybe in June, hopefully, and we'll all be better for it. Also, I want to thank the JDI companies for putting up the Merry Christmas. They say Merry Christmas. The wonderful trees they put up, lighted, and it's a beautiful tree this year. It's Centric Care. It puts you into the mood just looking at it. Unfortunately, the snow went away. So I want to wish all my fellow councillors and the citizens of St. John a very Merry Christmas. And remember, the reason for the season is the birth of our Lord, Jesus Christ. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hickey, please. No, Councillor McKenzie, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I'm getting younger looking all the time. I just want to take a moment to wish everybody a very healthy, happy, and a Merry Christmas. And we've all gone through one heck of a 2020. This being our last meeting of 2020. I can't wait to see it gone. And hopefully everybody will have a much better 2021. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Strobridge.
Same message, of course. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everyone. And as well, this is actually, as this group, this is our last Christmas together as Common Council, because I don't think all of us are coming back next term. Some are going to move on and pass the torch, and some of us may reoffer and not be brought back. So a little sentimental for me. I thought about that when I was coming up here today. I was like, yeah, this is our last Christmas together. And, a lot of us have worked together for a long, long time, and we didn't get the council Christmas party because of, the pandemic and stuff. So anyway, just wanted to say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Perfect. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Reardon.
Thank you, Worship. I'm just going to mention briefly, I'm wearing my badge for bravery tonight. I've had 2 shots today, nothing to do with COVID. I've had my Shingrix today, and it's the first of 2 shots for shingles. And I've had my Prevnar 13, which is a once-in-a-lifetime shot for pneumonia. I can still get pneumovax once every 5 years, and I'm going to get a pneumovax apparently in I think 8 weeks from now, and my second shingles shot. So I'll remind everyone to think about those things. They're important to do to protect yourself over time. I also want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas as well. I'm going to say Feliz Navidad, since that song is 50 years old this year. And remember that your Christmas dinner is 4,000 calories, approximately 4,000 calories.
I just was going to
And
say.
those things that taste good are loaded with butter and cream, and that's why they taste good. So, so just be careful and try to select carefully. Or you'll, as they say, we'll be wearing it in the new year. Thanks.
Thank you. I just was going to tease you, Counselor, to see if we were going to get a pep talk on
I was
Christmas
saving it
dinners.
for you.
You were, I know. You looked right at me. I'm insulted by that. Thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Hickey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Reardon, I have Councillor Strobridge on speed dial for immediately following our Christmas dinner, just in case I need any paramedic support. Just I think it's shared around the horseshoe tonight and offering everyone a happy holidays, no matter how you celebrate, no matter what you celebrate. If you're just enjoying the holidays with your family, please do. I just want to encourage everyone too to take, while we're not gathering in big groups, take the opportunity to take advantage of some of the many assets that are in our community. You know, I was first tracks on Friday at Poley Mountain when it opened, and we have lots of assets like that. So I encourage you to use them as much as possible in the community, and just want to wish everyone a happy holidays.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Counselor Norton.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks to Councillor Reardon for bringing us sobering reality to holiday meals. And with that, thanks to Harbor Lights for putting more meals on tables this season. And in your office, Your Worship, for what you did with the mayor and council virtual breakfast and the monies that were raised. I know there's a number of organizations that are responsible for that. So that's good. We won't be counting calories, but if you count the dollars, it was historic. So thank you to our generous and kind City of St. John for making that happen.
Perfect, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I too want to say Merry Christmas to everyone, to have a wonderful holiday season. I wish everyone the best in 2021. And I want to say thank you. Thank you to all the fellow council members. Thank you to the mayor for what you do. And thank you to our staff. You know, everyone deserves a break, and they're going to get the break at Christmas. And I hope that they have a very happy one, and because it's very deserving to everyone. And thank you to all the volunteers in the City of St. John. Many of their acts help us in many ways, and to our citizens. And I have to say, I'm a little different than Blake. I'm going to say thank you to everyone. There's no snow, but it helps our transportation department. They don't have to go out and plow, and I don't have to shovel. So, you know, I'm glad the snow's gone. So I hope everybody has a great season, and all the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. Councillor Casey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to extend a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody, and a Happy New Year. Thanks.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so thanks. You know, when I reflect a little bit on 2020, first of all, the generosity and the kindness in our community. Councillor Norton mentioned, you know, we had to pivot. I think once again we'll see the Harbor Lights campaign this year likely be a record year. I think if you look at the $5,090 that the mayor and council's breakfast raised virtually versus the $3,300 we raised by cracking eggs and screaming at each other all morning, it must mean that our breakfast was maybe not quite as good as we thought it was, but there's a message in that. So, but all kidding aside, it has been a challenging year for so many. And, you know, I've been asking people, what has 2020 meant to you, and what's the best thing about 2020 for you, which is really interesting. It forces our brain to think about, you know, what has been good, and some of the answers that I've received back have been, you know, just really inspiring. Spending more time together as a family, reading more, playing more board games together, less TV, more walks, more enjoying close by or bubble provinces when we were still bubbled, changing relationships, changing jobs, you know, really making the best that we can out of 2020. We go into the holiday season now. I think there, as you say, Deputy, there's lots of folks to thank. Lots of folks are likely very tired. And let's just remember those of us that have, enough to eat and a safe place to live. Those of us that maybe need a little bit of a bit of support, whether it's a bag of clothes or it's a few dollars to, to the food banks, or it's just kindness and generosity. I was out on Saturday and watching some of the stress involved in some of people's retail experiences, and just remembering those that are serving us and those that are doing the work to be kind and patient, and looking forward to a great 2021. I thought you were going to say, Councillor Reardon, you had your vaccine, your COVID vaccine, but that wasn't it tonight. So all the other vaccines. So perfect. Well, Merry Christmas, everyone. Next item, Common Clerk.
Yes, sure. Yes, 12.1 on the agenda is a verbal update from the city manager.
Perfect. I'm not used to these agendas, City Manager. I noticed you put your light on and my brain wasn't ready for why so quickly were you putting your light on. I love these meetings. We're now in the 12s. Over to you, sir.
I'm going to slow you down a little bit, Your Worship. This is the last City Manager's verbal update for this year, and please forgive my indulgence here. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through City Hall, not a creature was stirring. Staff had answered all calls. The bylaws were hung by council chambers with care in hopes that St. Nicholas would avoid the ransomware. The councillors were nestled all snug in their beds while visions of tax-based growth danced in their heads. With the mayor in his gown and I in my cap, spent a few final moments on the sustainability gap. The year started off strong, 2020'd be great. Little did we know of our pandemic fate. Here in our country's most Irish of places, on St. Paddy's Day, work began from home spaces. Council was supportive and the staff rose to the task while sanitizing our hands and wearing face masks. New demands and challenges all of us did surround, but there was never a doubt that St. John would rebound. We tackled head on what COVID did bring. Isolation in winter continued in spring. When safe routines were found, to City Hall we returned, a brief, small glimpse of normalcy for which we all yearned. Council meetings were held by Microsoft Teams. From the waist up, it was business. Jogging pants went unseen. In-person meetings were suspended till safe, plexiglass dividers installed in each and every place. Restructuring occurred in May, June, and July. Many employees retired and bid the city goodbye. Cooperation was paramount for those left behind. So many things to do, it boggled the mind. As the first wave of the virus began to slow down, the bubble did form, lifting many a frown. To Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and the island we went, making the best that we could from the time that we spent. As a beautiful summer yielded to fall, we packed up our stuff and we moved City Hall. One floor at a time, the process went fast, and with everyone's help, we completed the task. Elsewhere in the city, our crews worked to extremes. Our community needed them, every last one of our teams. They answered the call despite all of the tests, clear evidence that our employees were giving their best. In this new normal, we all got the job done. The tasks were involved, the opposite of fun. Keeping business afloat in a most unusual way. What else could possibly happen? Some councillors did say. On Friday the 13th, in the month of November, after settling in from the move in September, cyber attackers, thinking somehow the city had cash, took a look in our network in a wink and a flash. You won't get a penny, we together confessed. IT said we will work hard to resolve this ridiculous mess. Citizens have been patient during these cyber hijinks. Their support's been superb as we sort through the kinks. Councillors patiently played the cards they'd been dealt: hard work, tough decisions, and the tightening of belts. When councillors had learned that their term was extended, they said, "Not a problem. Their commitment's been splendid." Now Shirley, now David times two, now Donna, now John, on Blake, on Greg, on Gary, on Ray, and on Sean. They soldiered through the year with vim and with vigor. If only the New England Pats had demonstrated such rigor. Oh, the year 2020, a tough one it's been. The whole bloody year feels like a kick in the shins. But if there's one thing I've learned in leading our employee team, the professionalism here seldom is seen. Each challenge presented by this difficult year has been met with resilience, goodwill, and good cheer. But that's the resolve for which St. John is well known. Through each of these challenges, our city has grown. When the next year arrives and we get the vaccine, normalcy should return. A reboot should be seen. We will bid farewell to a difficult time, and with a few more observations, I'll wrap up this rhyme. In 2021, I wish you what this past year did not bring: all the simple pleasures in life and every good thing. Enjoyment, good health, and many great things in store as we all work together better than before. Difficulties test us in a wide range of ways. When tackled head on, character it displays. And that, Mayor, Council, and employees, is what you have done. Through hard work and commitment, sustainability's been won. As we head towards Christmas and the oncoming year, please spend time with the loved ones you hold near and hold dear. Reflect on the good things and the great work that you do, and be thankful your term hasn't been extended till 2022. In closing, I want to exclaim at the top of my voice, Merry Christmas to all, and to each other, rejoice.
Thank you. Well done. We like that so much, we broke our own bylaw, city manager. That was very good. We're all now ejected from this council. Thank you very much. Very well done, sir. Can I have a receive and file, please? Thanks, Councillor Hickey. Councillor McKenzie, thank you. Please vote now. Seems awfully official, but that's the way it works, so thank you. Well done, sir. It's on the public record. Perfect. Okay, motion's carried. Next item.
12.2, Your Worship, is demolition of a vacant, dilapidated, and dangerous building at 14 to 16 Xmas Street.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hamilton, are you introducing this item? Yep, thank you.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Before you this evening are recommendations to move forward with 2 city demolitions as part of the city's vacant and dangerous building program. While the program has indeed been impacted by the pandemic, we are fully operational and are continuing momentum on priority files that are really aimed at enhancing public safety and growth outcomes in the city. With that introduction, I will turn things over to Mr. Ben Purington, who's the manager responsible for our vacant and dangerous buildings program, to give you a brief presentation on the 2 files before you this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. I'm just going to pull up my slides quickly. Good evening, Your Worship and Councils. I will be providing an overview of 2 dangerous vacant building files that you have before you, items 12.2 and 12.3 on the agenda. Beginning with item 12.2, there are 3 buildings on the premise at 14 to 16 Xmas Street, an occupied 3-story apartment building, a 2-story rear addition, and a garage. The garage and rear addition have become a hazard to public safety by reason of dilapidation and by reason of unsoundness of structural strength. Staff recommendation for the garage and the rear addition is demolition. The following photos can be found on pages 47 to 58 of the council packet. And here's a photo of the garage and the addition. And some more shots of the garage. And this is inside the addition. And this is the rear of the building and the foundational wall. Thank you.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Councillor Hickey, question?
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. Thanks, Ben. Question on this one, because this one's kind of a unique one for me, where the building is occupied. How do we get here when it's obviously not a case of an absentee owner? Like, we can get in touch with them. They're right there.
Through Your Worship to the councillor, we did become aware of the building because police notified us. They were there on another matter. From there, we were able to get in contact with the owner of the building. The building's actually occupied through tenants who are renting the building, so the owners live elsewhere. And we've been working with the owner ever since to progress the file forward.
And the owner's just, I mean, I am familiar with the building. I live just up the street from it. But is the owner just unwilling to
Through
take
Your Worship,
action?
Councillor, it's not that they're unwilling to. It's more so, well, they're not really financially able to move forward on demolition of the buildings.
Okay.
Just, Ben, just to pick up on Councillor Hickey's, just for clarity here. So am I understanding properly that we have an occupied portion of the building? We have behind that a structure, an add-on, an addition, which will come down, and we have a garage that will come down. Am I correct?
Correct.
So when we're done, there will still be an occupied portion of the building at the front?
Correct.
Okay. Just want to make sure I understand.
Right, and then what does that, I guess I'm just unclear on the process here, Ben, because what does that then do to the building, which continues to collect an income and continues to run? Obviously, that lien gets put onto the building, or how does that work?
Through Your Worship, the owners will have an opportunity to pay the bill. And if it's not paid back to us, we will submit the reimbursement to the province. And my understanding is that they'll be able to work with the province to set up payment plans and things of that nature to pay off the demolition costs.
Okay, and would that jeopardize any of the tenants in the building as it stands?
No.
Okay. Excellent, thank you very much. That's all.
Thank
for
you,
me.
Councillor. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wondered, Ben, like, is there an outside wall on the main part of the house? Once we take down the rear of the building or the add-on, is there a wall, an outside wall already there?
Through Your Worship to the council or to the deputy mayor, there is a wall attached to the addition. Once we remove the addition and the garage, the owner will then be responsible for making it watertight.
Okay, so it's not, when they added that piece on the main house, there wasn't an outside wall on that building?
We wouldn't be aware, I guess, until the building is removed as to what the conditions would be behind that, right? But any remedies would need to be completed by the owner to the building.
So, okay, so if it's not suitable, then there will be an issue with the people living in the main house.
Right.
If the back wall, once you take off the rear, is not suitable.
And we'll work with the owner so that it can be a suitable condition. If it needs to go to a different enforcement process at that point, then we'll do so. But right now, we're looking at remedying the addition, the hazard caused by the addition and the garage.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, just building on that, I guess, working through yourself and the commissioner to the best of your ability to have the owner ready for that, right? You're going to take a building down. I'm not sure when you are. It's winter. Being prepared to get that building tightened up from a water and infiltration perspective would be important. So, thank you, Councillor Casey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I basically have some of the same comments as Councillor Hickey, basically. But I think this should be done differently. I don't know if it needs to be from the province side or because there is somebody living there. It's not vacant or, it's not completely vacant. So I think this should be done differently, that might have to go through the province, but it seems strange having taxpayer dollars rip down part of the building when somebody actually lives there. So, maybe they should just sell the property or something like that, because obviously they can't afford it. And whether they can afford to make it watertight after we knock that down is probably a question in itself. But I would like to see something different done in situations like this. But, what can possibly be done, I'm not sure. But I would like to see something else be done. I'll vote in favor of it, but for future, I'd like to see something else. Thanks.
Just build on that, again, Ben, I'm assuming, so you have tenants, this is kind of unique. I don't remember one where we've had tenants, in the building, but having a dilapidated building attached is for all of the issues raised in your report.
Right.
A fire hazard in so many ways, right? So
Right.
you've got, so it is unique. I don't recall another one that we've dealt with where folks were occupying, but by leaving that building dilapidated the way it is a massive risk in itself.
We would be exposing the tenants to a risk of public safety, right? Or to a hazard, right? So.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Reardon.
Thank you, Worship. I usually like to pull out a couple of little details for the public. So Russell Henstridge and Alessia Sullivan are the owners, and they live at 6 Brookside Court in St. John. Building's assessed at $106,000. So Exmouth Street is, for anyone that doesn't know, is north of Union if you're on the peninsula. It's an area really that I think in the near future will see a lot of development, because right now it's a more affordable place to live, et cetera. So I think I'd love to see us have another look at expropriation. I know, Ben, that's not in your wheelhouse, but I do think that would be something we should be looking at going forward with some of these cases. Thanks for your work on the file.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Norton?
Thanks, Your Worship. Ben, just for clarification, did you say that this came to staff's attention because the SJPF had a call there and then they reported it to city staff?
Through you, Your Worship, that is correct. We did get notified through police.
Okay, so can you just help me understand if a call wasn't made through to the forest, through public safety, and the forest didn't end up going there on a call, how long would it take for something like the photo that I'm looking at right now to come to staff's attention? I guess what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the mechanism that we have in place for routine monitoring without solely relying upon, a haphazard chance that there's going to be a call that the St. John Police Force is going to attend to. In fact, it could end up being something more tragic where our St. John firefighters end up going there, where it could be more devastating because of a fire. So what's our routine monitor? Because that's the only way it came. I take it, and I'm happy for the vigilant eyes, but is there something a little bit more proactive other than that happen chance reporting?
Through you, Your Worship, to the councillor, and this is kind of an atypical situation where the building is occupied, and we have different mechanisms in place that we can get notified of vacant buildings, such as the water being shut off or the electricity being shut off, things of that nature, as well as complaints. The garage and rear addition are also set in back on the driveway farther, so
Okay.
they're not visible from the road on Exmouth Street. So it's not something that we would typically receive complaints on, because it's not as visible as something that we would typically receive, right? So
Absolutely. Okay, so the eyes on the ground spotted it, let you know. Okay, absolutely. I can go to that. I guess at the end of the day, there is a message for citizens too. If they see something that looks derelict, dilapidated, and dangerous, that we have a number that we can call and report those to your office.
absolutely.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Ben. Just a couple of comments to build on on that, this council, the growth committee, I mean, just being a bit repetitive, but it's something we jumped on from day one through your work, Ben, and other staff previous to you, the commissioner. We've worked on and remedied about 80 files a year, roughly 50% of those being reinvested in. So, I mean, it is a tremendous accomplishment, if you will, in one breath, from focus on this council with staff's good work over the last 4 years, going into our 5th year on these files. And on the flip side, I'd say it's just that indicator that we have, as I've said many times in the past, of a broken tax system and the need for reforms to recognize that, we have a municipality that has to deal with 80 buildings a year. And, I think the list is in a much better spot, but it really speaks to the root and the fundamental issues that need to be addressed around taxation fairness and all things that, that are clearly on the agenda, but we need our partners in Fredericton to come to the table and implement some change. These pictures just absolutely shock me every time that folks have just walked away from their property in the middle of our city, and we need to, continue to work on these files. So, okay, I'll just read out our normal statement, and then folks can move after that. The information which has been provided in the council kit includes the report of the building inspector stating that the building located at 14 to 16 Exmouth Street, PID 000-12864, is a hazard to the safety of the public by virtue of its being, amongst other things, dilapidated or structurally unsound. Is there present an owner, including anyone holding any encumbrance upon this property, who wishes to present evidence to the contrary, i.e. that the building is structurally sound and not dilapidated? Okay, not seeing any. Somebody can move the recommendation. Deputy, thank you. Councillor Reardon, thank you. Motion is on the floor. And, okay, thanks. Let me find. Okay, perfect. Please vote now. Okay, thank you. Motion is carried. Next item. There you go.
Your Worship, 12.3 is another demolition of a vacant, dilapidated, and dangerous building at 206 Norris Road.
Your Worships and Councilors, item 12.3 on the agenda is a dangerous and vacant building at 206 North Road. There are 2 buildings on the premise, a 1-story single-family home and a detached garage. The buildings are located on the city's east side and have been abandoned. The buildings are a hazard to the safety of the public by reason of being vacant or unoccupied and by reason of dilapidation. Staff recommendation for the building is demolition. I'm unable to provide interior photos of the buildings. However, the following exterior photos can be found on pages 75 to 82 of the council packet. And this is the front of the building and the right side. The rear of the building. This is the garage and the rear yard.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Reardon.
Just want to mention a few details. That 206 North Road is owned by Sabrina and Sean Poirier. It's assessed at $93,600. And the mayor's already touched on it, the cost to citizens of just looking at the building, sending fire and police both out for surveillance for those buildings. So there's the cost of that, which we can't recuperate on when we send this off to the province. If we don't get reimbursed for it, the province will, but they'll only reimburse us on the demolition costs. So there's a lot more costs and there's a lot more impact. We need to do these sorts of jobs because we have citizens who live next door and we have to be cognizant of their safety as well to these buildings. A lot of times they get inhabited with this nefarious activity going on in there, fire, et cetera. So, it's incumbent upon us to try to provide a safe environment for our citizens. So away we go, but I mean, there's a lot of costs in this. We're only getting a small portion back. We got to crack down on. We need disincentive for this sort of activity. Thanks, Ben, again for your work on the file.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Worship. Ben, I think you're doing a fantastic job here. But I do have a question. In contrast to the last property that we saw on Exmouth Street, Norris Road, is it a fairly wide open area or the houses close by? I'm wondering what the criteria is in terms of getting these places torn down. To me, I look at that building, if it's in an area where it's kind of rural, and there's nobody in immediate danger, is there a building, another one on Exmouth Street that's partially occupied that's more dangerous? You know what I mean?
Through you, Your Worship, to the councillor, we do have a list that we prioritize the vacant buildings based on, and then as they rise to the top of the list, we do take action on the properties. This was a property that did meet the criteria to move forward with a notice to comply, so we did move forward with it. It is in a more rural area, but there still is hazards associated with a vacant building being present in areas like that. Such as trespassers breaking into the property, fires occurring at the property, different things like that, right?
So with the Exmouth Street property, would that have moved up ahead of this one at some point because of the occupancy and more dangerous for people?
Through your worship, to the councillor, absolutely. As soon as we were aware on Exmouth Street, we began enforcement procedures immediately, right? And we were able to get it to council quickly and organize the demolition quickly. Norris Road has been a case that's been going on for a little bit longer. I believe we became aware of it in early 2019.
Right.
And we've been working with the owner, but ultimately we did have to move forward on the property.
Okay. Well, I think you guys are doing an excellent job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Yeah, just a quick comment, I guess, for a future growth committee meeting as we continue to advocate for the reforms that we need and some of the unique elements such as the industrial presence that we have in St. John. And I'd love to see, maybe more so to Ms. Hamilton, I'd love to see a comparison of the dilapidated buildings between and these files that we're working on between St. John and the communities in the surrounding areas in Fredericton and Moncton. I think it'd be very interesting to just have a look at some of that data and have a bit of a conversation. Okay. No, let me just read out so the information which has been provided in the council kit includes the report of the building inspector stating that the building located at 206 Norris Road, PID 0032865, is a hazard to the safety of the public by virtue of its being, amongst other things, dilapidated or structurally unsound. Is there present an owner, including anyone holding any encumbrance upon this property, who wishes to present evidence to the contrary, i.e. that the building is structurally sound and not dilapidated? Okay, Deputy Mayor moved. Councillor Casey, thank you. Second. That was 12-3. Yep, thank you. Okay, please vote now, folks. Okay, thank you. Motion's carried. Thank you very much, Ben. Merry Christmas. Next item.
Your Worship, 15.1 on the agenda is under general correspondence, St. John Police Force 2021 operating budget. Staff recommendation is to receive for information.
Moved by the deputy, thank you. Seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Sorry, okay, thanks. Moved and seconded. Any comments? Thank you. Councillor Hickey.
Your Worship, is there a presentation along with this or just the slide?
There was a presentation in the kit, but no one's here tonight to present to us.
So where do we direct questions?
City Manager.
Your Worship, to the councillor, our current process, which is under review, is that the Police Commission submits their annual budget for information. We did submit to them at the beginning of the year the mandate as to what their budget entitlement was. And then again, under our current process, they are mandated to put in place that budget. What we are working towards is, first of all, the creation of a public safety committee. That public safety, or the new committee structure, will be briefed to this council in the new year for your review and consideration. But certainly we are considering a public safety committee, which would then enhance our ability to understand and make comment on all of the commissions and organizations associated with public safety. We are also, and this is a commitment based on previous council meetings, as part of our ABC review, we are taking a look at the reporting structure for all ABCs. And we'll be coming back to you in the new year with recommendations on that. So that's for the future. For now, our current process is that we receive for information.
And is there an understanding, I mean, obviously the police force put together a presentation here. Is there an understanding as to why no one's here for the presentation?
That presentation was provided to the police commission by the police force. It's in your packet for information.
Oh, I see. Okay. And so I guess the general protocol would be that we have nowhere to ask the questions, or like, because I do have a few questions, but.
No, not at all. I mean, you can certainly voice some observations here. There's always the ability to pass information to the police commission for their consideration as members of council. And you also have the opportunity to pass that information to staff, and we'll get it to the commission. So there are a number of different ways by which you can submit your observations. But again, according to our process, there is not a vote on approving the budget this evening. It is a receipt for information.
No, of course. And I appreciate that. And I guess the questions I would just ask in that situation, and city manager, would just be, I guess, clarification and understanding of how this past year and the conversations that we've had as a community over this past year and as a society around policing have impacted this budget, if they have, and how moving forward, certainly beyond the actions that we're taking as a council to tighten up our reporting structures, and with all ABCs, I think, I guess I just have a few clarification questions in there. So I guess overall, I'm just a little disappointed, regardless of past protocol, that we are left without a representative here from the police force, and even as a sign of goodwill, we're left here without the presence of a member of our police force. I mean, regardless of the social context around it, it's a $26 million budget item. I mean, that's a tough one to go unanswered, to go with unanswered questions.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Sir, just trying to go in order here. Deputy Mayor.
Oh, thank you, Worship. I'm just assuming, though, that the public, which would include us, are allowed to go to the open session of the St. John Police Commission meeting when they present the budget. So if I have a question about what the police force is doing, even though I'm on council, I'm still able to go to the open session portion and ask them for clarification, or at least they would probably go through their budget. I'm assuming they would go through their budget at the open session of the commission meeting, and if you had a question, you can ask. Is that not right? I mean, they do have open meetings, I believe. So then I could, we have to be fair in how the procedure goes, and I just feel that that's how it works. We may want to change it, but right now, in their defense, I would say that I'm able to go to any police commission meeting that's open, and if I have a question, raise my hand. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. I think I'm allowed to go. So you have to understand that. That's our procedure. That's what the way that we set it up. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sullivan. Sorry, yep, there you go.
Yep, that's right. Thank you, Your Worship. To the Deputy Mayor's point, yes, just a reminder for council, I am your representative on the St. John Police Commission at present. Now, unfortunately, the budget meeting, it was an open meeting held, I think it was on Teams. It was either Teams or WebEx, but it was while we were in orange phase in December, but it was an open meeting. And certainly, if you ever get anything like this in your kit and you have clarifying questions, while I don't speak on behalf of the commission, I can certainly do my best to interpret what was going on and give you my perspective as your representation. I can tell you with regards to conversations in the past year, COVID has gotten in the way of so many things, but the police force is going through its strategic plan now and is working towards those things. And the community conversation is certainly an important bit. If there's parts of the budget that you have specific questions about, I can do my best to kind of interpret it, not being an expert in it, but being a representative on it. I know from a financial perspective and the financial conversations that we have had within City Hall, in my opinion, the St. John Police Force, as long as I've sat on the commission, has really heard that message and worked towards matching the St. John Police Force's financial sustainability with councils. And I think council and certainly the Finance Committee would know when we have conversations with the St. John Police Force, they don't ask for the moon. They see it coming. They want to be part of the solution, and which is why the budget we talked about, even though it's just being officially submitted now, it's no surprise to the finance folks in City Hall and was done in conversation and collaboratively with them. So my opinion, I think the force has done a good job, really led by management, and management out of the St. John Police Force isn't just the St. John Police Force. It's got a structure now where we are sharing management and services with City Hall, so there's a much closer relationship there. I think they've done a very good job of smartly looking after the finances while maintaining the services, majority of services that we've had. Certainly, and I know Councillor Hickey, near and dear to your heart, mine as well, would be community policing. When we had this conversation a few years ago, we were all shocked by what had come forward. This plan, because the St. John Police Force got ahead of it, it's been a long conversation with the Commission for months and months and months. We were able to plan for it to maintain those services while at the same time being financially prudent. Thanks, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Casey, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it's probably more of a comment, but just on the rentals item, it's $1 million or just over. It's the second biggest budget item. Just from my experience with the city, when we've asked about renting versus owning, they usually come back and say it's better to own it or it's cheaper to own it. So I'm just wondering, what are they renting? Is it like really specialized equipment or something, or I'm just curious. I might follow up on this later, but I was just mostly because when we talk to staff about it, we usually get the answer of it's better to own, or it's cheaper to own.
So Councillor, the representative on the commission is maybe put his hand up again, but just before we go there, I guess, so the finance department, city manager is now involved. I think we have Mr. Levine there. I'm not sure if the Commissioner of Finance can answer that question, or we go back to the council member for a run at it.
Your Worship, I think it's problematic for us to.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Your Worship, I think it's problematic for us to try to answer that question. We don't have all the details. Yes, we do provide financial support to the St. John Police Force as it prepares its budget for submission to their commission. But it would be, like I said, problematic for us to try to provide that detail. Again, these are the sorts of questions that happy for them to come into the staff, and we will chase down the answers for the councillors for their questions that they do have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks, Councillor. I was going to say equally. I mean, I don't want to keep putting
Yeah,
Councillor
I just
Sullivan on
found
the
it curious.
spot.
That's all.
Yep. Okay, was that it? Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Norton.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I think folks are at this table know where I am. I mean, if I could dissolve the police commission yesterday, I would, in a heartbeat. I would do that without ever thinking about it, because I'm uncomfortable with these types of conversations where we're provided an operating budget and we have nobody to ask questions to, and we just receive it for information. And yeah, I hear commentary where we're somehow defending the governance structure that we have in place, and we should really be defending, from my perspective, the folks that are paying for $26 million budget, and it's the process that we have right now is it's failing them. I can go to the Fundy Regional Services Commission too, I suppose, and ask them questions. I could go to the Canada Games Aquatic Center ask them questions. I suppose I could go to the Hotel Association during their open portion as well. We don't do that, Deputy. This is where we come looking for answers, and the money flows from here to those agencies. Folks want to come here and ask those questions, and we should be in a position to be able to ask those questions, and we can't. Tonight, we're going to receive this for information, and other than the text that is there, we have no more to go on. This goes back to the need to establish a public safety committee that I understand the Police Commission was in favor of, absolutely, that we put forth to the city manager some 2 years ago, and thank you to council support when I put that motion on the table. But in the absence of that, this process miserably fails again. And I've been here at this point in time when the same slide deck has been received and we can't ask questions, or it's unfair to ask anybody questions because we would not have the balance of information because, you know, guess what? What we should have done is we should have gone to the Police Commission meeting and asked questions ourselves. And I suppose Joe Public should have done the very same thing. That's right. That's what they should have done. No, they should have the ability to come here and ask questions. I've got about T-minus 12 seconds left, but I will say that the governance structure that's in place fails the taxpayer that's paying the bill, and it does not provide the transparency that should be afforded, period.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just quickly, and to Councillor Norton's point, I guess my biggest challenge with this is at the end of the day, it's not the St. John Board of Police Commissioners that's accountable for these dollars. It's us. And to be able to have to accept it without the ability to ask any questions, I find extremely problematic, regardless of the governance structure that's set up there. So if I can, and I don't know what the process here is, so I'll have to ask for clarification from the Common Clerk. But I would like to propose an amendment to the motion that's on the floor in the receive for information. I would like to add a request in here to have the St. John Police Force or representatives from come and present on this in an effort of goodwill and answer some of the questions that are here.
Common Clerk, yeah.
Yeah, Your Worship, that would just be a separate motion put forward by the councillor and voted on separately.
Okay, and so can we do that immediately following this?
Okay, perfect, thanks. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the comments. I'm not going to, I think most folks, if you read my Medium post, you know where I stand on the Police Commission. I think my responsibility to speak my version of truth overrides a bunch of other things, like being uncomfortable and politics and all kinds of other issues. I'd echo a lot of the comments here tonight. I don't think the organization is open and transparent and proactive enough. I don't believe my biggest worry is it's not sustainable. I think we had in the budget item some $21 million in staffing costs. It's not sustainable. There's a whole other range of issues and challenges, I think, that I spoke to. So, you know, all that to say is there needs to be a path forward. I think the commission did highlight in their slideshow a whole bunch of, you know, areas that they're focused on. But, you know, at the end of the day, we need to move that forward in a sustainable way. So I think I've made my own views pretty clear so far. Okay, thank you. The receive and file is on the floor then. Yep, thank you. Let me find the item. And okay, please vote on the receive and file. Okay, perfect. Thank you. And okay, perfect. Motion is carried. And get your Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess I would just put a motion to the floor to have either the city manager or the common clerk send a request to the St. John Police Force or to the commission, to the board, asking for a presentation on their 2021 operating budget to answer some of the key questions that council has, and do so as a gesture of goodwill and partnership.
Thank you. Yep, thinking second. Thanks, Councillor Armstrong, seconded. Thank you.
And I'll just quickly speak to it. I think my comments have been clear as to why I think this needs to happen. While I have deep appreciation for Councillor Sullivan's effort to answer all the questions, I think it's really tough to put all that on him, and to also rely on staff that isn't necessarily entirely briefed. And while I think we can go to the public sessions of the commission meetings, I think with all due respect to that perspective, at the end of the day, we're not the public. We're elected city councilors, and we're accountable for these dollars. We're accountable for public dollars, and the $26 million that is expensed in the 2021 operation budget. And I have key questions, and I'm confident in the discussion that's happened around this table that there are other questions that need to be answered as well.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I can't support this, and I just want to explain to the public why. We put the structure in place. We put a police commission in place. We have the opportunity to remove the police commission at any time. It's in the act that you can do so. We have that authority, and we've never acted on it, and therefore we've had the opportunity. We had this discussion that we're having right this very moment in time many times in the last 9 years that I've been on council about the police commission, and we've never wanted to act on it. So I'm not going to, I guess, try to criticize the Board of Police Commissioners. Well, they have the structure in place, and they're only following what they're supposed to do under the structure that they're under, and we've never changed it. So if we want to change it, that's a whole different discussion, and we're always open. We could do that. Anyway, I'm just not going to ask them to come in because I just don't feel that that's the way to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reardon.
I'll quickly say that I'm also struggling with this motion on the fly to a certain extent because we do have a process in place. We have adhered to that process, and if we don't like it, then change the process. I'm with Shirley on this one. Now, I'll wait and see what our representative, he has his light on, Gary Sullivan, has to say about all this as well. But right now, I am having a bit of a struggle with changing the process of this if that's not what we do and that's not what's in our bylaws and our guidelines, et cetera, or our legislation of setting up this committee with the commission. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sullivan.
Thanks, Your Worship. I know I'll express one of the frustrations that I know has been conversed at the Police Commission is the ability to have more conversations with council. Certainly our last chief would have gone to every Finance Committee meeting and presented at every meeting as possible. And I know that the Finance Committee folks get to see them a little more because when they talk money. And also, and I know there's been a lot on our plate, I think I've mentioned to the city manager something that I've wanted to see both as a councillor and a representative on your police commission is the public safety committee that Councillor Norton had brought forward and endorsed by the council. The commission wants to be able to talk to council more. And so I'm in favor of Councillor Hickey's motion. I think it'll be welcomed, and they would love to be able to, if we have time that we can carve off for it, to have that conversation and to be able to explain things further, not just to council, but also to the public. You know, I would also say, you know, one of the reasons we get our kits in advance is when you read the kits, if there are questions and technical questions, not so much the governance side of things, but if you have technical questions, feel free to reach out. And if I don't have the answers, you know, I certainly have the line to the folks who would, and I'd be, as your representative, happy to be that conduit. If you, for example, to get details for Councillor Casey's question around rentals. I know some of them is four-wheel drives in the winter. We don't want to own them all the year round, but in a storm, we want to need to be able to get places. That's not $1 million worth, but I will go find some more information for you. So bottom line, I think it's a good motion. I think it's a good request, and I think we should have the conversation. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Norton.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Those that are struggling with Councillor Hickey's motion, I'd urge you to give sober second thought to that. That is, we're not changing process here at all. That motion is simply an olive branch to expand the bandwidth on communication that's currently not in place. If you think that you're changing the process or the system that's in place by sending a kind letter of invite to come in and answer some questions, I'd say you want to consider the councillor's motion one more time. I mean, I would certainly accept the opportunity to come in here and answer some questions. Absolutely. I mean, if you've got a chance to enhance communication and visibility, I mean, here's an absolutely stellar opportunity. I'm hoping that in the new year, we are going to also see the Public Safety Committee start to come to fruition. This is becoming a thorn in my side as it relates to one of our biggest budget expenses. It needs to be resolved. The public deserves it. We need a new process. I consider that a halfway process. It's a bit of a hybrid. We don't dissolve the police commission, but at the same time, we need something that we have with finance, growth, and we can complement that with public safety. If safety is a top priority, let's get this one done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Your Worship. But, I mean, I'm certainly in favor of the motion. I think that it's great to have them come in. I don't think they've ever refused an invitation to come to council. The thing is, it's an invitation to come in. It almost sounds like they refused to show up, or they refused an invitation, which isn't the case at all. They've simply forwarded the information on to council as per the resolution. And if we have some questions and we want to invite them in, I'm sure they'd be happy to come in. So, I like the term invitation to appear, and we do that with all kinds of groups and organizations. And, maybe this is something that should be an automatic, but right now it's not. And so maybe that's something to look forward to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the motion's on the floor. I'll call the question. All those in favor, show of hands, please. Thank you. And anyone contrary-minded? Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Motion's carried. Thanks. Common Clerk, next item.
Yes, Your Worship. 17.1 was a motion that came from Committee of the Whole with respect to Birch Hill project. And I have a resolution I can read out into the record. And that would be that the city enter into a memorandum of agreement between the City of St. John and Power Commission of the City of St. John in relation to the Birch Hill project in the form as described in Committee of the Whole. It's December 21st, 2020 meeting, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the said memorandum of agreement, and further that in each year, the City of St. John's portion of benefit of Birch Hill Wind project over its planned 25-year period be applied for purposes of the Community Energy Plan, reducing the city's expenses for that purpose, and B, the next following year, and in accordance with the City of St. John 10-year financial plan, the amount of such benefit be placed into a tax rate reduction reserve, so the funds in the reserve account to be applied solely for purposes of tax rate reduction.
Okay, thanks. Moved by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Okay, thank you. Okay, call the question. I think I have it in the system, Common Clerk.
Yeah. Yes.
Just blank. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll call the question. Please vote now. Okay, thank you. The motion is carried. So that's just the next step in the process to move forward our community energy plan, the greenhouse reduction plans, and our Birch Hill Wind project. So that's an important next step. Thank you. Next item, please.
17.2, Your Worship, is another resolution with respect to Committee of the Whole regarding progress report on wind down of Develop St. John and Discover St. John. And the proposed resolution is to A, extend appointments of Dave Drennan to Discover Board until June 30, 2021, extend appointment of Stephanie Publicover to Discover St. John Board until June 30, 2021, and B, as it relates to Develop St. John, recommend that council and the city, being the sole owner of Capital Development St. John, Inc., the corporation, a New Brunswick corporation, does hereby resolve that bylaw number X of corporation as enacted by directors on December 17, 2020 is hereby ratified and confirmed as a bylaw of the corporation, and further recommend that common council and the city enter into a transfer agreement with Develop St. John, Inc. in the form as attached to the submitted report, and mayor and clerk be authorized to execute said agreement.
Okay, thank you. Moved by the deputy, second by Councillor Reardon. City manager, could you give us just a quick summary of that item, please?
Your worship, members of council, we are winding down the functions of both Develop and Discover St. John, entities that were created by this council. These are, if you will, housekeeping measures that are required to effectively wind down the two organizations as we stand up the new Regional Economic Development Agency. With regards to the first recommendation, Discover St. John, the board, will continue to exist after the 1st of January, not doing tourism or economic development activity, but they do need to exist for a period of time in order to properly close out, do the necessary audits, et cetera. And therefore, they need their board members to be available for that work and for the necessary decisions surrounding that work. On this second motion, that is in essence the requirements that are needed in order to effectively dissolve, Develop St. John and transfer those necessary assets back to the city of St. John.
Okay, thank you. Okay, council, thank you. Please vote now. Okay, thank you. Motion is carried. Is there a motion that we can delay the meeting for another couple of hours?
Sure. Yeah, we can take a
That's the last
recess.
item?
One more item, Your
Oh,
Worship.
one more item. I thought we were done. I was trying to.
No,
my-
so
my
I can
joke
delay it
didn't
a little
even
bit for
land
you.
there. It failed.
So
Over to you.
the final item, Your Worship, 17.3, interim funding of new economic development agency. And the motion for that, approve the operating advance agreement between the city and the new Regional Economic Development Agency for Greater St. John in the form as submitted as Schedule A, and further that mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the said agreement.
So thanks, moved, Councillor Marathew, thank you. Second by Councillor Hickey. Just a quick overview again, City Manager.
Your worship, members of council, this particular motion has to do with the new agency. We will have in place a members agreement that will bind the municipalities and a funding agreement that will bind us for our financial commitment. Both of those agreements are in the final draft stages at this point in time, but of course, with the holiday season, they will not be finalized prior to the 1st of January. We are confident that we will end up with suitable agreements to flow the many millions of dollars, or the several millions of dollars that we intend to flow to this new organization based on past council resolutions. Until we have those agreements, the new agency is standing up on the 1st of January, and they do have a requirement for some cash flow, and therefore the recommendation you have before you is to flow 1/12 or 1 month's worth of our funding to the new agency while we work to finalize the funding agreement and the members agreement. Thank you.
City Manager, just to qualify, I think you said the several millions of dollars, but the $1.7 million already budgeted. Yeah.
Precise, it's $1.7 million per year for the next 3 years, and then that grows to $1.9 million thereafterwards. And the accommodation levy revenues go to the new agency as well.
Yeah, it's not a new conversation.
No,
It's just
it's not.
housekeeping. Yeah,
Yes.
perfect. Okay, thank you. Okay, perfect. Thank you. The recommendation is on the floor. I'll call the question just manually. All those in favor? Thank you. Anyone contrary minded? Okay, thanks. Motion is carried. Just thanks again to the staff. I think, tonight for the small crowd of us here, It speaks to the spirit of the workload, the agenda we've had, City Manager, December 21st, some spirited debate tonight, a group of really committed folks that bring a variety of perspectives to the table to have a growing, thriving community. So, and it's December 21st. Most people have probably checked out, but your team and us, we're all here tonight, and I hope and I wish everyone a safe holidays, that they do get some well-deserved rest, and I thank everyone for their tremendous effort. So thanks very much, everyone. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Reardon, Councillor Casey, thank you on the question. All those in favor, and Councillor Sullivan is against. Okay, thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.